Hey everyone, I'm Colton from MMOHuts.com, and today I wanted to do something a little different. EVE Online just launched its Ascension expansion, which, among a bunch of other things, introduced a free-to-play mode known as Alpha Clone States, or just Alpha Players as people in the forums have been calling it. Basically, the system is intended to be a free trial with no time limits. You can make a character and play as much as you want, but there are limitations that prevent you from having a truly complete game experience. Alpha Clone States can only have a limited number of skills and skill levels. The list is the same across every race, and like every menu in EVE, it's super long, so I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but there's a link in the description. There's enough in the available skill set to allow you to be useful in an alliance setting with paid players, but there's a very obvious ceiling. A fully trained alpha will only be able to have about 5 million skill points. Additionally, alpha players can only use Tech 1 frigates, destroyers, and cruisers, and will only be able to use ships and weapon skills that are native to their factions. Tech 2 ships and non-native ships are subscriber only. These limitations are put in place to make it so players aren't able to abuse free accounts, especially for harassment purposes like suicide ganking and that kind of thing, which is a concern that I've seen voiced in a few places. EVE itself is a game built around exploiting things, and as forum user Aria Arens points out, these limits are there to ensure that those exploits are for paying players only. As I said, the primary goal of this is to allow someone who wants to try EVE to play for an extended period of time. The typical 2-week or 15-day trial that accompanies a lot of MMOs out there would not be remotely close to enough time to see EVE and everything it has to offer as a game, because EVE is focused on long-term play and time investment. You're able to essentially have an unlimited free trial, and then once you've sunk a bunch of time in it, and you've decided that you want the full experience, you can begin subscribing and continue with the character you've already made. I think the free-to-play model that they've cooked up for EVE is interesting, certainly, and we'll have to see how it plays out before a judgment is made. EVE's audience specializes in exploiting and breaking things, so we'll have to see how they twist these new free-to-play accounts into weapons before we know for sure. These accounts will definitely allow you to get a taste of what the game is like, and if you've been considering it, there's never been an easier or better time to do so. Something else I wanted to cover real quick while we're talking about EVE is that I had never played EVE until I started preparing for this assignment. So that was about a week ago I started playing EVE. I've dumped a few hours into the game, and I've got to say, I'm really not impressed. If you're like me and you've never played EVE and you're considering trying it, be very careful. This game is very much designed for people who want a very realistic, very detail-oriented space simulation game that is as much about trade and economics and these other factors as it is about space combat and piracy and things like that. If you are like me and you want your space combat more fast and frantic like something you'd find in, say, Star Fox or Star Wars Rogue Squadron, you are going to be really, really disappointed with what's on offer here, because this is meant to be a realistic style simulator, and it does involve looking at a lot of numbers, a lot of statistics, and a lot of wait time for travel. I found it to be kind of boring and not very engaging for a video game. If you are somebody who's very detail-oriented and likes the numbers and the math and that kind of stuff, you're going to love what's on offer here, and I encourage you to give it a try. I'm not saying EVE is badly made. It's very well polished and very well put together, and it looks extremely pretty for a game that's as old as EVE is. I just don't like it, but you can go try it. That's the whole point of this Alpha Clone State thing, is that you can go get a taste of EVE and make your own decision. So I encourage you to do that. If you're into space games, go try EVE, see if you like it. You know, come back, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. In the meantime, I've been Colton for MMOHuts.com, and keep it locked right here for all the latest gaming news and reviews.